Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is October 23rd, 2020, and this is episode 114, and what an episode we got for you. Today we're reviewing The Scumbag. The world's fate rests with the worst person on it. This is an Image comic, $3.99. This is the #1 issue, and it's written by Rick Remender, okay? Just want to talk about the main character here. His name is Ernie Ray Clementine, and he is, like they say, he's a scumbag. This is a very dark comedy, dark story. It's gross at times, and if you not into drug culture at all, if it really bothers you, you should probably just skip this comic altogether. It's really kind of sick in a way, but funny at the same time. I don't know how else to put it. If you saw the movie The Joker, it's got that kind of depth to it, but on a funny level, more like Austin Powers. So it kind of goes back and forth a little bit and plays with you a little bit on that in your head, so to speak. So anyway, Ernie, he's basically the scum of the earth. He's a loser, a druggie, a alcoholic. He's a sexual harasser. He's no good. He welches on his loans, everything you could think about him, and he doesn't bathe. His personal hygiene obviously is not good, and they mentioned that he kind of just has this bad smell about him all the time. So anyway, let's just get into it real quick. It starts out with this teeny tiny quote by Charles Bukowski. If you're familiar with him, I believe he's the LA street poet back in maybe like the late 50s, early 60s, Beat Generation maybe. But he just says that the world of the intelligent people in the world have doubts, but the stupid people are full of confidence. And that's kind of our Ernie Ray Clementine. And so, an Image, make this big. You've done this in a number of comics where you got a full page here, and I don't know if you're trying to be funny but it's pretty hard to read. And you could have used like a nice typewriter font, like old-timey font, since it is an old-timey quote. And then we get, no man better portrays, let's see, is that the word? I gotta get my thing out here. My magnifying glass on my no man better proves that point than the one I'm about to introduce you to. So okay, see how small it is? I need my magnifying glass. Okay, and we get to see, here he is, man of the hour, Ernie Ray Clementine, and we can see how he interacts with the other patrons at this bar, this dive club, probably punk rock and roll bar. The mob doesn't want to have anything to do with him. The hookers inside don't want anything to do with him. The hired help is annoyed by him, and even the local drug dealer doesn't want to see him. And he needs a hit. He needs a fix. And on top of that, he's got a bad case of diarrhea right now. So you can kind of tell where this thing can go. He is able to procure funds by in a very unsaintly way, and he does end up buying a hit, so to speak. And I don't want to go into the wrong thing here, but and he ends up probably in the lowest point of his life right here on the sidewalk, injecting himself while he has a case of the diarrhea. And actually, his kids kind of thinks it's pretty funny, but everybody else is taking pictures or videos, and people are grossed out walking by. And then he drops his needle before he can inject, and it rolls away, keeps rolling. He's chasing after it on hands and knees, just disgusting. Goes around the corner, and he comes upon the street fight with these two very unusual and exotic looking people. One's a kind of a James Bond style guy. The other one is a master villain, apparently. We'll find out more. She has some kind of weird abilities, and we get some very sexy looking drawing here. As you can see, the drawing in here is actually very good. The art's very good. it's got kind of a garish neon outline around many of the photos and such in here. And once Ernie does take his injection, he actually takes the wrong injection. They're fighting over a, um, a batch of medicine themselves, and this one's supposed to give superpowers, and that's the one that Ernie ends up getting. Okay, so both these end up to no consequence, basically. Ernie shoots up, and suddenly there's this ghost that appears, but he can only see it because he has shot up this special formula, the Maxima formula. And this is actually like a astral projection. That's what I'm guessing. And I believe it's from the future. I'm not sure. It has not been let us know yet, but only he can see it. And it's asking him to help, and he doesn't want anything to do with it because, you know, he's not gonna help anybody. He's just the jerkiest person in the world. So they make a deal. He says he will finally help them if they give him all these things that materialistic and drug and booze and whatever things. And that's kind of how it ends. So he's going to help him out, and they're going to make him into a super spy, apparently. Okay, the artist on this was Luis La Rosa. You know, Rick Remender, again, was the writer, and the colors did a fantastic job as Moreno Dinicio. I think I said that right. And you get a little bit if you want to freeze and read about the Scumbag. The alternate cover doesn't have him looking so... He looks more buff in the alternate cover. In this one, he's comic, you know. You can see he's kind of got a pot belly. He's just in bad shape. Losing teeth, gingivitis, you name it, he's got it. So anyway, just a little bit on him. Overall, you know, it was fun. And here you can see the next issue cover. Meets his spy partner, and of course she's going to be perfect, while he is the exact opposite. So hopefully some more comedy will ensue in this, and this will be Sister Mary, who he'll partner up with to try to save the world. Apparently, they're supposed to find a bomb within 10 minutes. I think that was the end of the story, and so far doesn't look like he's going to get there in time. And we get our 007 homage, so to speak. So it is a recommend, with some caveats. I mean, if you don't like the grossness, one of the things I liked about it, it looked like it should be full of profanity, and wouldn't have bothered me. Usually I'm bothered by profanity because it just doesn't seem to fit in some of the comics I read, and it seems lazy, or they're trying to be edgy or cool, and it just doesn't work. This one could have been loaded with profanity, and it's very sparse. There's hardly anything in here. Instead, Rick Remender goes to his literary skills and uses flowery language and gets around things. So all in all, you know, I think it's pretty good. I think he took his time to think up this character. Unlike the last one, Death and Glory, I think that was just kind of a whim idea, and he put it out, and that shows. I kind of went nowhere at the end there. And this one, I think, possibly has some good legs. I think he's been thinking about this one for a while. So it is a recommend. Just want to mention that I did go to some other sites to see what they said about it. I couldn't find a single one that gave it a not recommend. All of them gave him a recommend that I saw, with caveats, of course. And they all seem to like it for different reasons, which is interesting. But here's some of the ones that I went to. I went to a few here. Sparks Comics, Collectors Assemble, Think About Comics, Hayden Clare Comics, Comics by Perch, Jaguar Zootocultural, Pop Culture Philosopher, Jeff Brausamar, Comic Book Club, and Team Ashen. And they all gave it positive reviews. Some of them were very, very high on it, and others were like, well, let's wait and see. Rick Remender kind of goes in different directions. And if you recall, Rick Remender's done other things like Deadly Class, Deadly Class, which was made into a sci-fi show for a couple seasons. So he does have some chops. He's been writing a long time. I think his first big independent thing was Fear Agent, ways back. So this is a recommend. But like I said, if you're uneasy with gross things and drug culture, you might want to steer clear of this. Okay, well, thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe, please like, please leave comments, dislike, please leave a comment why you disliked, and we'll see you next time. This is Indie Comics Jones. Thank you for stopping by the Temple of Tomes, and as always, I bid you adieu.